Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? Well, I hope you're having a fantastic day. As for me, I'm just fine. I come to you today to talk to you about the book of Genesis, chapter 38. Previously, we talked about chapter 37, and in that chapter, we learned that Joseph's father loved him more than any of his other brothers, and that he gave him a coat of many colors. And because his father loved him more, his brothers hated him and wanted to kill him. Instead, Joseph was taken Joseph was taken to Egypt, and his father thought him to be dead, as well as his brother. So now we're in chapter 38, and I want to begin reading at the first verse. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Abdullamite, whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua, and he took her and went into her. And she conceived and bare a son, and called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Shelah. And he was at Kewiz when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said to Onan, Go unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And this thing which he did displeased the Lord. Therefore he slew him also. And then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at thy father's house, till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, Lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelled in her father's house. And in process of time, the daughter of Shunah, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted, and went up into the sheep shearers in Timnah, he and his friend Harad the Adulamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garment off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open space which is by the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. And Judah saw her, and he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come into thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou may come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thy send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet, and thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose, and went away, and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adulamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There was no harlot in this place. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of that place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, let her take it to her, lest we be ashamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou have not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months later that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burned. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man who these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose these are, the signet and bracelets and staff. And Judah acknowledged them and said, She hath been more righteous than I, because I gave her not to Shelah my son. And he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass, when she travailed, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, How hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Pharez. And afterwards came out his brother, that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was Zerah. Amen. And that concludes the reading of Genesis chapter 38. Wow, that was a lot to uncover in this chapter of 38. We see here that Judah had his two sons marry Tamar, and they both died. He had one son left, and he wanted Tamar to go back to her father's house and live until the younger son was old enough for her to marry. Judah was afraid that his younger son would die as well. So he did not give Tamar his younger son. But then when his wife died, he went in to Tamar, thinking that she was a prostitute. And then he even had the nerve to say that to say that she should be burned because he found out that she was pregnant. There's a lot to uncover in that. And we know that Tamar ended up having twins. And this is really a lot like previous in the Bible. So we see in Genesis that some things some of the history tend to repeat itself just with different people. So we do see that sometime. And even though Judah did this, we know that Judah, is in the Bible as someone that's worthy, someone that's triumphant. There's even a song after him. Hail, hail, line of Judah, tribe of Judah, how wonderful thou art. So we also see, as we read more in Genesis chapter 49, when his father speaks blessings over all of his children, and we will see that he speaks blessings over Judah even the more, and also we'll see Judah mentioned later on in the book of Revelations. So this tells us about the sovereignty of God, and also there's mention of Tamar. She's mentioned very highly of a woman as well. So the way I'm seeing is that even though Tamar came out to be a prostitute, it's not for us to judge her. Back in those days, it was hard. It's seems like maybe she wasn't able to make a living, and she seemed desperate. And who hasn't done things, maybe not that, but done things that they should not have done out of desperation? So she did what she did. We all know it was wrong. He did what he did. We all know it was wrong. But that particular thing that both of them did does not identify who they are in their life. Just like with us, we do certain things. Everybody has what they say, something in their closet that maybe only you know about. It does not depict who you are now, and certainly it does not depict who they became. So the moral of the story there is, although they did that thing, apparently they got it right somewhere along the line. As a lot of us do. We do things and we get it right. And God searches the heart. So it's not for us. It's not for us to judge. It's not for us to search someone's heart, because we can't. God searches the heart, and he knows who is who, and he knows who belongs to him. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to close for now. And I will be talking to you soon. Have a blessed day. Bye.